It's an experience that we all share. You bump into someone and they come smiling at you. Hey Wahid, how you doing? But their names totally escaped you. So you have to act so awkwardly because you don't have the foggiest idea what their name is. Forgetting a person's name might seem completely innocent or even trivial at times, but its consequences can be dire. We all want to leave an impression on others, so forgetting a person's name is the quickest way to make them feel slighted or unimportant. Aside from the awkwardness though, it's damaging to building rapport, establishing trust, and communicating effectively. In some cultures, it's even an insult. Now, I talked recently about speaking slower and listening better with ADHD, but becoming a good communicator and influencing others starts with giving them importance, that they matter. In How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie states, "A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language." Being able to recall a person's name shows that you're paying attention to what they're talking about and what they have to say. So it's a shame that with ADHD or ADD, we tend to struggle with remembering names and important details from conversations, because we're constantly spacing out from the conversation and getting bored, or because we've lost our train of thought. Being able to walk into any room and remember everyone's names is a superpower that's seriously underrated. Like any skill though, remembering names can be mastered. The first step is recognizing it's a problem and doing something about it. Through deliberate practice, I've been able to get far better at it, and in this video, I'm going to share with you my fail-proof strategy to remember names with ADHD. On this channel, I talk about the strategies, frameworks and gadgets that help me tackle the very real problems I face with ADHD at university. Keep watching and subscribe to learn more. With my ADHD naming strategy, there's a few things you have to do right away when you meet someone, and some things you have to implement immediately after or before meeting someone. The first thing you want to do is repeat the name back 3 times. Let's just pretend for a minute that we've met someone called Gus. Providing we're paying attention, we would have just heard them mention their name, or would have proactively have asked them what their name is. Whilst it's fresh in our mind, it's important to try to commit this to our long-term memory. I generally try to repeat a name 3 times in a conversation, so I'll tend to say, "Nice to meet you, Gus, I'm Wahid," immediately after they introduce themselves. In the middle of the conversation, I'll also try to mention their name again. "So tell me, what do you do, Gus?" And then at the end of the conversation, I'll wrap up the conversation and say something like, "It was great meeting you, Gus." By mentioning the person's name at the beginning, middle, and end of the conversation, it gives me 3 repetitions and allows me time to actively recall the name without much effort. If for whatever reason I wasn't paying attention, it's also more acceptable for me to ask them to repeat what their name is again at our first meeting than say our second meeting. This process of actively repeating the name back to commit it to my long-term memory also links on to the next very important thing that I do, associating the name with at least one other thing. During the conversation, whilst I'm being introduced to the person's name, I actively try to associate it with something more memorable. I might not be able to remember their name in future, but I'm far more likely to remember what their face looks like, what they work as, or any other memorable traits. Names are quite boring to remember. It's why we tend to forget names often with ADHD, but the same doesn't really happen with faces and memorable traits. So in the instance of Gus, I'm trying to think about any other memory that I can latch onto. Gus the doctor, Gus Griswold from recess, Gus with curly hair, or even the colour of their shoes, or their mannerisms, whether they're funny or serious. Wherever I'm able to latch this memory onto, let's go with Gus from Breaking Bad, that might do the trick. Now, we're far more likely to remember features or traits than we are names, but once we've established an association, our work doesn't end there. You have to create a network list. I've been keeping a network list for the past few years, and I haven't really seen anyone talk about it in this way. It's something that's quite straightforward that I came up with at medical school, and I've been using it ever since because it's so ADHD friendly. A network list is essentially a primer I use to remind me of someone I've just met. Whenever I come across someone that I want to stay in touch with, or maybe there's a chance I'll meet them again, or if I want to genuinely establish a connection with them right after our initial conversation, I'll go away and bullet point a few words about them. Now, Oxford is a great place to meet people from across the world. Especially as a PhD student, most of the point of studying a PhD is the collaborations you develop. Now, this is a great example of someone I met at my college who was studying comp ski and had so many similar interests to myself. So I wrote down their name and how to pronounce it and a few memorable bullet points about them. It takes so little energy to write a few bullet points, and it's so high yield in really developing instant rapport and long-term friends. Especially at university, where we come across so many new faces every single day. By actively keeping a network list, I'm able to consolidate my associations, and there's no way I'm going to ever forget this person. It also means when I do arrange a link up with them, I'm able to look through my network list and get myself up to speed with what we talked about. I've impressed so many people with this approach. They're just so shocked that I'm able to remember so many details. It really makes the other person feel valued, so definitely try this out. I don't see anything wrong in making an active effort to write down a few thoughts. The next thing I want to touch on, and it's even more important than everything I've touched on so far, it's the importance of changing your identity. Now, my wife is really great at remembering names and intricate details when she meets people. She can go into any room and just reel off people's names. It's something I really appreciate about her. She knows in her heart of hearts that she's exceptional at remembering people's names, and it's so ingrained in her that I'd say it's part of her identity, as well as of course being a great listener. This conviction and belief we have in ourselves helps us manifest and develop ourselves into the people we want to be. If you see yourself as great at remembering names, you'll become great at remembering people's names. Now, because I use these techniques often, there's so many occasions where I can remember someone's name, but they can't remember mine, and that's totally fine. But what's not fine is the negative words we tell ourselves when we can't remember people's names. So next time you forget someone's name, don't ever say, "Sorry, I'm really bad at remembering names," or anything of the sort. Instead, just be totally honest with them. And that leads me on to my next point. Just be completely honest. It's completely natural for us to have lapses in our attention and focus, especially with ADHD, or sometimes we're just having a rough day and aren't our usual selves. Whenever you can't remember someone's name, just be completely honest with them. Make a joke out of it. Just don't take it too seriously. Remembering someone's name is a great way to build rapport, but it isn't the only ingredient needed to forge strong relationships. People will appreciate it if you're completely honest with them, and they will most likely give you a second chance. It's also often the case that the other person might not remember your name either, and so by fessing up to it, you can give them a chance to also learn your name. Our name and our legacy are really the only thing we leave behind when we leave this world. As humans, we want to be valued, we want to be remembered, and we want to leave an impression on the world. It's for this reason that remembering names with ADHD is so important, especially as we're not starting off at a level playing field to everyone else. I hope in this video you were able to take away my name remembering strategy that has served me well over the past few years. If you found this video helpful, then like and subscribe to my channel for more videos on how I make sense of and excel at university with ADHD. If you want to learn some strategies about how I focus and pay attention in conversations, then check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.